Episode 26. Here we go.
Come in, Donovan.
Nadia called over the communicator.
How's everything going?
So far, so good, Donovan said.
You know, this would go a lot faster if you let me come along to help.
Donovan sighed and looked around. He was hidden in a cramped corner of a secret tunnel right next to Robotnik's main control room. Now that the cave enough was out of the way and his deal with Robotnik long since broken, he was finally setting up some surveillance equipment in the command center to monitor Robotnik's every move. This had been one of the only two rooms of Robotropolis without such equipment, the other being the one that held his parents. We've been over this already, Donovan said tiredly. I know the ins and outs of this place. I can get around more quickly by myself than I can if I were worrying about you.
Yeah, but that was when you had two good eyes.
Nadia
pointed out. If you did, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because you'd be done already.
Donovan adjusted his eye patch. Just keep a lookout on things, okay? I'll be done in 5 to 10 minutes. I don't mean to be nosy or anything, the computer interrupted. But what will you do if something does show up? For a computer,
you're kind of dumb,
Nadia said.
He does have his teleport chips on him, remember? You can bring him back in a second.
That's not what I meant, the computer said calmly. If he's found, now that he's technically a freedom fighter, Robotnik can claim that last emerald.
Oh, Nadia said. I guess I'm the dumb one then.
You said it, not me.
But this does have a good point, Nadia said to the communicator. What are you going to do?
Donovan was not about to answer, but suddenly alarms started blaring in the command center. Robotnik, who had been napping in his chair, suddenly snapped awake and moved to controls. Main power down, his computer said. Auxiliary power to main command center online. Robotnik scanned his monitors, looking for any sign of trouble. The building that housed his main generator was a smoking mass of rubble. Computer, play back the last 30 minutes of the security tape of the main power generator, Robotnik said calmly. They already knew what he would find. Donovan walked silently through a ventilation gate as the tape played at 3 times normal speed. He too knew what Robotnik would find, and smiled to himself. Tu sais, snively, he thought. Meanwhile, back at the hut, Nadia was working at the computer.
Computer, bring up a power grid schematic of Robotropolis, she said. I want to see exactly what's online right now. After all, we didn't do it, but who says we can't take advantage of it?
Will do, the computer said. As a matter of fact, done.
Nadia scanned the schematics for a moment and paused. That can't be right. Computer, recheck signature coming from the roboticizer.
Rechecking. Power signature confirmed.
But there's no power going into the room or coming out of it. Another thing doesn't have its own power source.
Don't be too sure.
But the only thing that can fit in there and have enough power to make it work is the light.
Nadia cut herself off as she heard what he was saying.
But the Almighty, I know where the emerald is. I gotta tell Sandra.
Don't you want to try to get Donovan home first? I'm getting static interference after all.
Static, Nadia said, worried. A simple explosion shouldn't cause that.
A simple one, no. But a low-level nuclear device? Big time.
What? Nadia screeched. Can you still track him?
Yes, but...
Just let me know when he starts moving and when he's clear.
Very well. Nadia got up and began to pace around the room. She knew in her head that he was going to be okay. That his wish would still protect him. But based on what happened with the Kivanov, she still had a lingering doubt or two. What do you mean, nuclear device? Robotnik demanded, as the computer returned the same analysis as Donovan's. Am I safe here? Yes, the computer said. The area is 1 mile in diameter. This is 2 miles away from the explosion site. You're quite safe. But I'll bet I lost a few hundred worker bots, Robotnik muttered. Even if they had survived, there's no way they'll be useful to me. Records show that an order was given for removing all roboticized Mobians from the irradiated area 5 minutes before the explosion. Robotnik muttered a curse and threw a piece of scrap metal at the console. I thought I eliminated all his access codes. He activated the communicator. Swap out battalions 3 through 8. Confers on area and begin cleanup. Squadrons 1 and 2 report to our boss-sizer room and guard it. Let no one pass but me. Orders acknowledged. Various SWAT bots drone. Robotnik sat back in his chair, regarding the monitors before him darkly. Sniffly's out to destroy me, he thought. I continue to underestimate my nephew, but perhaps he will underestimate me as well. Donovan studied the map on the monitors carefully from where he was hidden, checking to see if his escape route passed through the railroad area. Fortunately, he didn't. He quickly finished setting up his equipment and left, trying not to make any noise. He's on the move, the computer told Nadia. He'll be out of the stack area in 10 minutes. Nadia nodded, continuing to pace.
As soon as he is, bring him back here.
Meanwhile, in the hidden base, Dorian Lexford anxiously waiting the return of his friends. That explosion affected an area bigger than I thought, he said worriedly. I hope they can get enough time to clear. As if on cue, a knocking was heard at the door. Dorian waited. A specific pattern was repeated 3 times before getting up to opening it. I was getting worried, he said. Sniffly walked in, followed by Melisonic.
There was nothing to worry about, Sniffly said. I knew exactly how much time we had and where we had to be clear from. Did you give the command like I told you to?
Dorian nodded. I sent it exactly as you said. The little boss-sized Melbians got caught in the blast, though more than a few SWAT bots were. Did you remember to access the power grids? Metalsonic asked. Dorian just glared at the robot. For his answer, he punched a few keys on a nearby console, and the schematics come up. You were right, he said. There are 2 places that have their own power source. A main room and a robotizer.
Sniffly nodded, smiling. Well, it seems my uncle has found the perfect hiding place for the emerald. I guess we should go and take it from him.
Not wise, Dorian said. Robotnik has 2 battalions of SWAT bots guarding the robotizer. We wouldn't stand a chance.
Good point, Sniffly said. We'll wait a couple of days for everything to die down, and just when he's least expecting it, we strike.
Donovan made his way carefully through Robotropolis, avoiding the SWAT bots that seemed to be everywhere. His only thoughts were about getting out of the city without being discovered. He stopped short as he heard SWAT bots in front of him, but also heard some coming up behind him. Great, he thought, looking both ways. Just before he was spotted, a white light enveloped him and was teleported back to his hut. As he tried to recover his equilibrium, he was tackled to the floor by Nadia and covered with kisses.
I'm so glad you're safe,
as he tried crying between kisses. I'm glad to be back too, Donovan said, as he let him catch his breath. But next time, could you allow me to get my sight back before you tackle me?
Nadia sat his test. Why? So you could see me coming and avoid it? No way.
Yeah, Donovan muttered, but didn't seem all that upset. Nadia smiled and continued to lay down on him, but stopped herself.
As much as I'd love to continue this, hopefully all the way we can't.
Donovan just stared up at her. You mean you're finally listening to me? Outer course, mutual masturbation, these things are things. Anal. Hell. All he really has to do is just start rubbing up against him. Boom. Come on, people. You learn this type of stuff in sex ed.
No, she said, standing and pulling him to his feet. It's just that we had to get to Nado. I'm not entirely certain what happened to Robotropolis, but whoever it did showed me the location of the lightning emerald. I really think the others would want to know.
Perhaps. Even though I don't think it would be a good idea to go out to the robotizer right now. Donovan said thoughtfully.
How did you... Never mind, let's just get going.
Also, if you mentioned not going all the way, then what did you do in the previous sex scene?
Just asking.
Meanwhile, over in Nahol's war room, older mates of freedom fighters were gathered to discuss the latest surveillance. Sally plugged Nicole into the holographic protector inside.
Well, we haven't found it yet,
Sally said, pushing some buttons. But at least we're narrowing where it's not. As he spoke, certain sections of the holograph went dark.
That's good, Sandra said. There are only so many places it could be. We had to find it eventually.
I've been wondering something, Uncle Chuck said. We've been spending so much time and energy to keep ourselves from being spotted that would be better spent on the race itself.
You're trying to find the emerald as part of the race, Uncle Chuck,
Tails pointed out. You're right. But I got to thinking that since this is the last emerald, why not just let Robotnik have it so we can start going out on him? Maybe set a trap for him or something when he actually cleans it. It makes sense, Roar said, sticking his head through the window. While everyone else gathered inside, he and Dulcie were more comfortable sitting outside, especially with Dulcie pregnant. I've been waiting to try out my powers in Robotropolis.
Dulcie rocked Roar lightly on the nose. Well, dear, we're protectors. We can't use our powers to just attack anytime we feel like it.
Oh, ain't that cute, Dulcie? Maybe at the same time we could go off and pick some tea and crumpets while we're at it. We're in the middle of a war here, sister! That's true, but once the emeralds are designed, wouldn't we be attacking to protect all of Mobius from the return of chaos? He's got you there, Uncle Chuck said. Dulcie mumbled something to herself, rubbing her belly. But before she could say anything, she was cut off by the sound of 2 pairs of approaching rocket boots.
Looks like you finally showed up,
she said, sitting back. Sandra got up and opened the door just as Nadia and Donovan touched down.
Thanks, Sandra,
Nadia said, giving her friend a hug. You're just in time, Uncle Chuck said. I was just asking others for permission to...
No offense, Uncle Chuck,
Nadia interrupted.
But I think we have to say it's a little more important. We found where the lightning emerald is.
Every head turned to look down.
How?
Sally demanded.
By accident, really,
Nadia admitted.
Sniffly blew up Robotnik's main generator, and according to the powder grids, only 2 areas had power. The main command center and the robotizer.
Of course! Sally exclaimed. The one room we couldn't check out because of all the cameras and security equipment in there.
You 2 have done well. How long would the power be out?
Sandra asked. Until Robotnik gets his accelerated generator up and running, Donovan said, speaking for the first time since he showed up. But by all accounts, he's sort of done that already. How long that holds out is questionable, though, because he's going to have to build a whole new generator.
Why can't he just rebuild? Sally asked. Just what he used to do when we got his generator.
We never nuked a generator before, Donovan said grandly.
A deathly silence fell over the war room. He did what?
Tails asked, its voice low and threatening. Snively used a nuclear device to blow up the generator, rendering the area around for 1 mile in every direction useless and unfit for life. Tails stood up so fast on his chair clattered to the floor.
Do you know what that means?
He snarled, rounding on Lydia.
You and your boyfriend just killed thousands of Mobians!
Lydia was too shocked to say anything. Sandra grabbed Tails and wrestled to the ground.
Easy, Miles,
she yelled, fighting to keep him down.
Easy! He couldn't have done anything to do with it, Lydia whispered, hugging Isabella close to her. He couldn't have.
Actually, I'm sure he did, Donovan said. He's probably the one who sent a command ordering all the robots-like Mobians out of the area 5 minutes before the blast went off.
Tails stopped struggling suddenly, and Sandra hauled him to his feet. See what happens when you don't have all the facts, Sandra said, riding his chair and sitting him down in it roughly. With all we've been through, I figured you would have learned that by now.
Lydia breathed a sigh of relief and smiled lightly. Isabella smiled up at her mother and hugged her.
She said. Yes, he is, honey, Lydia whispered, wiping away a tear.
Save that energy, Tails, Sally said. We're going to need all of that when we go after the emerald. Not today, I hope, Donovan said. Robotnik's expecting just that.
Good point, Sally said, rubbing her chin. All right, if you know so much, what's the best time to go?
Donovan checked his watch. In exactly 2 days and 4 hours, he said. That's the exact moment Robotnik will let his guard down, and the moment when Snively will strike.
Sally let out a low whistle. Anything else we should know?
Yeah. Expect a trap in the roboticizer. I don't you supposed to happen to know what kind of trap? That? No. Before I had a chance to discover it, Sandra came to me with the information about my parents. I haven't gone back since.
You knew about it for 4 months? Sally screams. Why didn't you tell about it sooner?
I was too busy keeping the Kavanagh's damage to a minimum. Besides, I'm still not used to being part of a team.
But the Kavanaugh's been gone for over a month.
Was I spent trying to get used to having only one eye, Donovan said angrily. And as a subject, I'm still pretty testy about. Thank you.
That's good, my princess, Antoine said softly. I am noting how hard it is to adjust what that monster did to us.
Bonnie took hold of Antoine's hand, which began to tremble.
He's right, Sally girl, she said,
running a finger over the scar just above her eye.
Sally's face softened. I'm sorry, she whispered.
All right, we'll follow your advice, Donovan. Try to find out what the trap is if you can. The rest of us will be ready. Sonic, who had sitting quietly at the moment, spoke up softly. Do you even have to ask? Even I know what that trap is. As soon as someone touches the emerald, that thing's gonna go off and roboticize whoever's there. Everyone just looked at Sonic, mouth slightly open. Donovan clapped his hand to his forehead. Why didn't I think of that? He muttered under his breath.
We could deal with that easily enough, Sally said. All we have to do is cut the power. That's the no-go, Nadia said. He's using the lightning emerald to power the roboticizer. No way to cut the power.
Uncle Chuck started trembling slightly. Sonic put his hand on his uncle's shoulder.
It's cool, Unc, he said softly.
You're the only one here who knows what it's like to be under that thing, and remembers it. You don't have to come along.
Yes, I do, Sonic, Uncle Chuck said bravely. I knew how to design that thing. I've got to make the best bet disconnecting the emerald safely.
I could try to make some seals, Sandra suggested. The crystals I created to reverse the roboticizer safety gun should work on the roboticizer as well. Which means it won't have any effect on you if the beam passes through the shield.
Too risky, Uncle Chuck pointed out. If that beam hits the shield wrong, who knows what the effect the crystal will have on it. Besides, I don't think it's a good idea to carry around something that big that's going to explode after we use it.
Sandra went silently, but nodded.
Well, what about the metal shields we used to use? That should work.
I've got a better idea, Sonic said. Back when I dealt with Robotnik and his doomsday device, I fought off the beam with my power rings. If I take enough and reach them to grab the emerald, I should be able to fight it off again.
And what about your hand? Sally asked. That won't be protected.
Sonic looked at Sally for a moment, then looked at Bunny. Bunny lives with 3 robotic limbs for over half her life. One hand isn't that big of a sacrifice. Sally opened her mouth to say something, but Sonic stopped her. Sal, it's the best way we got. You know it. If anyone else has a better idea, I'm all ears. He turned to look at each one in their eyes, but they all simply shook their heads and looked away.
I didn't think so.
Don't bail on me with this, Sal. I'm going to need you there with me. Sally closed her eyes and nodded once.
Okay, Sonic,
she whispered brokenly.
You win. We'll do things your way.
Sonic nodded and stood up. Without saying another word, he left the war room. As Sonic passed by him, Donovan patted him on his back. Sally watched him go, tears in her eyes.
I've never seen Sonic so distant, she whispered. Why is he being like this?
Well, Sal, maybe it just might have something to do with the fact that it seems like Sonic hasn't been all that important throughout this entire race. I mean, he hasn't done anything with any of the emeralds. Most of the plots have revolved around the side characters. Most of the side characters have been carrying the story for him so far. He has done zilts, nada. He hasn't been an important character this whole entire freaking race. I don't even notice, but even that whole fight with the Kavanaugh, something that his parents started, he did nothing. The whole entire thing with Dulcie and Rotor, that was their story. Heck, he didn't even appear in that episode. He has done nothing. This is like having a big epic quest with Naruto in it, and Naruto doing nothing. Donovan took Nadia by the hand and whispered something in her ear. Nadia's eyes widened for a moment, but she quickly nodded. She walked to Sally and placed her hand on the princess's shoulder.
Sally, can I ask you the question? Who won the fire emerald?
Sally turned to look at Nadia.
I'm in no mood for human me.
Nadia said, smiling. Sally sighed. Robotnik, but you know that.
Okay then, what about the water emerald? We did. I mean who specifically? Oh, I guess that would be Lydia then. The Earth emerald?
I did, even though Isabella's the one who found it.
Life,
Sandra, and you.
Wind,
Sniffly got that one.
Sato.
Oh, he hasn't been found yet. He's not in this series. Sadly, I mean, I would love to have Oh, you mean the Shadow Emerald. Oh, yeah, sorry. It's with Silver.
The 6 of you that went. 2 last questions. Where's Sonic on that list?
Sally stared at Nadia.
You mean he feels the bad that he hasn't won an emerald?
Wait.
Does
this mean you guys were holding Sonic back on purpose? That this was all meant for some character development? That the reason why Sonic hadn't been doing anything most of the race was to allow for a good moment of Sonic having a character moment? If this is true, you guys are good.
It's more than that. My other question is, of the emeralds we don't have, who was the one that tried to get them?
Sally's mouth opened in a small O of wonder. Nadia glanced around and saw much of the same expression on the faces of everyone there. Everyone but Donovan, of course, who clued her in on the problem.
Think about it for a second. Yes, Sally, you're the princess, but we all look to Sonic as our leader. Yet, he's really the only one who hasn't gotten an emerald, and he's failed when he's tried. How do you think that must make him feel?
I never realized. Sally said slowly, I have to go to him. So he ran from the war room, calling Sonic's name. I think this meeting is adjourned, Donovan said, holding out his hand to Nadia. Just then, a strange sound came from outside. Everyone looked out the window and saw Dulcie with her hand in a hastily dug hole. More than one face in that war room took on a grin's chins as he realized what was going on. At that moment, Patricia walked by with Kelly Min in her arms.
I know what that's like,
she whispered to Dulcie.
It'll be over soon.
Morris walked directly to Rotor, who faced away during all this. I wouldn't be too worried about this, he said. It's when she starts getting mad at you that you better know how to run, or you can't fly. Rotor closed his eyes and shook his head slowly. I never thought I'd be in this position, he muttered. Maurice smiled. Is it worth it? Rotor took a long look at Dulcie, who had finished and was filling in her hole. A smile played upon his snout. Yes, it is, he answered. Remember that. In the coming months, it's going to be all too easy to forget. Sally caught up to Sonic as he was entering his hut. Sonic, we need to talk. What's there to talk about, Sal? Sonic said. We both know what's got to be done, and we both know why. I know how you've been feeling, Sally said quietly. Sonic turned to look at her for a moment. Tails has a really big mouth sometimes, he muttered.
Tails knew? He seemed just as surprised as the rest of us. Actually, it was Donovan and Nadia who tipped me off.
Sonic shook his head and opened the door. Well, there's nothing you could do to change my mind, Sal. I'm going to do this.
I'm not trying to change your mind, Sonic. Just wanted to let you know that I'll be there for you. Always.
Sonic bowed his head for a moment, then turned around quickly and gave Sally a hug. Sally put her arms around him, and they just stood there for a while, holding each other. Later on they would talk, train, but for the moment, this was exactly what they needed. The next 2 days passed by rather uneventfully, with only 2 incidences worth mentioning. The first occurred during training. During a wrestling match, Sonic was knocked cold by a left-arm clothesline from Antoine. Even though he had the arm heavily padded, Sonic was actually moved to padding aside with an arm bar, and Antoine never realized it. It took a couple of hours for Sonic to come around, and even then he was groggy with the rest of the day. Everyone feared he might have a concussion, but those fears were quickly laid to rest by Knuckles. Ordinarily, they would have went to Tannis about it, but they didn't want to bother him, especially seeing as Rosie moved into the sanctuary. Woo! The second incident caused a rather deal more concern, though. It all started when Rotor made an unscheduled flight to Donovan's hut in the middle of the night and knocked on the door furiously. Donovan and Nadia woke up immediately from the loud noise.
Computer,
Nadia called, half groggy and half angry.
who's out there?
A rather large and rather agitated platinum dragon, the computer answered. Nadia and Donovan dislooked at each other. Without a word, they threw on their clothes and ran at the door. What could you want this time of night? Donovan muttered, opening the door. Brother almost bowled him over, trying to get inside.
Oh, good. You woke up. I don't suppose you have any avocados, do you?
Donovan turned his good eye to Nadia, who in turn turned his look. He glanced back at Runner. You mean to tell me, Boomer, that you woke us up in the middle of the night, knocked us on our tails trying to fit through the door for some stinking avocados? Runner picked him up and dragged Donovan outside. The night sky was lit up with flashes of red and orange for the direction of knothole.
Fine, you tell Dulcie she can't have any, he said, dropping Donovan on the ground.
Nadia came out of the hut, looking at the display.
What's gotten into her?
She demanded.
Rudder didn't turn around. Have you ever dealt with a pregnant, hungry predator in a cranky mood? Especially when she wants the one fruit not grown on a flying island?
What do you mean we never grow any avocados, SBO?
Well, you never said to. I mean, this isn't exactly the type of environment to grow them.
You're right. And avocados all with fruit to grow. Donovan got to his feet very slowly, rubbing his posterior. Before he could finish frustration, Robert picked him up and looked him square in the eye.
If we don't find a way to calm her down, she can destroy the whole great forest!
Donovan nearly growled in anger as Robert sat him on his feet. Computer, he called. Is there anywhere on Mobius with avocados in season? Scanning through memories banks. Could you scan a little faster, please? Donovan yelled. Aren't we the cranky one? The computer muttered. That's found. Avocados are currently in season on the islands in the Southern Ocean.
Out of here,
Fodor said, taking out quickly and cracking the whip. You're welcome, Donovan yelled after him.
Donovan, he's not going to be back for hours, Nadia said. We better get over there and help the damage control.
Donovan let out a bitter sigh and started nosing for agreement. They set off a knothole, with Nadia making one final comment on the way.
After seeing all this, I'm not in such a hurry to get pregnant anymore.
Donovan turned to look at her. Nadia smiled back, but it was a scared smile. At least one good thing came out tonight, he muttered. All told, 15 trees were lost to Dulcie's raids. Fortunately, all injuries suffered were minor and easily treatable, but Knuckles placed a spell on Dulcie, preventing her from losing her temper like that again. For which Rudder, most knothole, was extremely grateful. The next day, while everyone else was trying to do what they could to fix the damage Dulcie had caused, Sonic and Sally were prepared to go to Robotropolis and get the Lightning Emerald. Everyone wanted to go with them, but Sally was adamant about it.
A smaller group has less of a chance of being seen,
Sally pointed out. As soon as Robotnik knows he's there, all he has to do is get his hand on the emerald if we lose it.
We all know that, Sally,
Nadia pointed out.
But that doesn't mean we don't want to help anyway.
Thanks, but this has to be just me and Sonic. Ready, Sal? Sonic asked, getting his backpack ready.
You have enough power rings?
Sally asked, helping him adjust the straps. Got 5 in there. I only needed 3 last time. Sally nodded.
What's this luck?
She called, rubbing up her legs in time with Sonic. They all said their goodbyes, and then Sally and Sonic took off. Nadia and Donovan, who had been helping clear the way for charged trees, took advantage of the others' distractions and slipped back to their hut, where they could keep an eye on almost everything that would happen. At almost the same time, Stifley and Donovan were Dorian were making plans to get the emerald themselves. I don't see why I can't come, Metal Sonic grumbled, hitting Dorian's backpack. We've been through this, Stifley said. Besides, you came last time. Yeah, but I don't see any reason for you to go and put yourself at risk over this. Let Dorian and me go. Stifley shook his head. You two still don't get along unless I'm around to watch. Look, the cameras at Robotropolis still can't pick me up. Now, if Dorian stays close enough to me, he'll be shielded as well. But I can't say the same for you. The virus works for living creatures only. Metal Sonic nodded, but he didn't look happy. Dorian and Sniffly left without another word, heading straight for Robotropolis. Sniffly, can we talk about your relationship with Metal Sonic? I mean... if you're gay for robots, that's perfectly fine, but I think you need to open up, really. Where Sniffly and Dorian planned on making a beeline straight for the roboticizer, Sonic and Sally had to take a very long, roundabout path to avoid being spotted. Believe it or not, it was Sonic who suggested the route. "We're not taking any more chances, Sal," he whispered as he dusted another camera. "I want to get this emerald." Sally just nodded, keeping quiet, though she would never let him know it. Seeing Sonic this serious frightened her in a way. She knew he was putting his all into getting the emerald, and she was worried about what would happen if something went wrong. She tried not to think about it, but the more she tried, the more it kept propping up. "Hey!" Sonic whispered furiously, grabbing Sally's arm and pulling her out of the path of the spotlight. "What's the matter with you?" Sally covered her worry as best she could and forced a smile. "I'm okay, Sonic. I'm just thinking ahead to when we'll have to get the other emeralds from Robotnik and Sniffly." Sonic let out a small sigh. "Sal, let's just concentrate on getting this one first, okay?" Sally nodded and kept around, moving slowly toward the roboticizer and the emeralds within. Donovan and Nadia sat in their hut, monitoring the progress Sonic and Sally were making. "I was afraid of this," Donovan said, shaking his head.
"Afraid of what?"
Nadia asked.
"Looks like they're making good progress."
"Not quite. Look at them. One of them is moving purposely while the other seems to be dragging a little."
"Why is that surprising?"
"The chip I placed is the one moving purposely."
Nadia stared at the screen. "I see your point. But as long as they're doing their job, we don't have any reason to worry, right?"
"For now. But if they keep going at the rate they're going, one or two things will happen."
"Well?"
Nadia asked, getting impatient. "One thing, their emotions will get the better of them, was to get them either spotted by Robotnik or make them careless around the roboticizer."
"Give them some credit. I've never seen Sonic so committed to something. Except Sally, that is."
"There's a fine line between commitment and obsession."
Nadia waved it aside. "What's the second thing?"
For an answer, Dolphin barely looked at the screen. Nadia followed his gaze and saw a red line forming where alarms were being tripped.
"But those alarms are nowhere near Sonic and Sally," Nadia said. "Don't tell me."
"And that's number 2. Dolphin just stepped back and watched as the line grew closer and closer to the path Sonic and Sally agreed to take. In his command center, Robotnik had just begun reassigning the SWAT bots who were on cleanup duty back to their stations when the alarms started blaring. But when he looked on the monitors, he saw nothing wrong. "What is happening out there?" he demanded on his computer. Alarm malfunction," the computer answered. "The alarms were being tripped, but I can find no evidence of anyone tripping them." "Bring up the alarm grid on the main viewer." Robotnik studied the grid, seeing the straight line being made to the roboticizer. "Ready my transport," he snarled, stalking from the room. Sonic and Sally continued on their route until they came upon a tripped alarm. "What gives?" Sonic asked. "We didn't do this."
Sally pulled Nicole from her boot. "Nicole, is this a malfunction?"
she asked, opening the computer up.
"Negative, Sally," Nicole said. "Scans indicate there were 2 life forms heading along a straight path to the roboticizer. Nicole, identify life forms."
"They are Sniffly and Dorian Lexford." "Let's get moving, Sal!" Sonic yelled, rallying his legs. "Sonic, wait!" Sally said. "We can't, Sal. If we follow their path, it'll make things a lot easier."
"But if we're spotted."
"If we don't, Sniffly gets the emerald." Sally nodded, replacing Nicole and revving up her own legs. They took down the path Sniffly and Dorian had left behind them. Unknown to them, however, Sniffly and Dorian were already at the roboticizer. "There's the emerald," Dorian said, pointing at the focusing lens on the machine.
"It seems too easy," Sniffly asserted. "It was nothing to disable these robot so I'm betting there's a trap on the emerald. Let's be careful about this."
Dorian nodded, picking up an access panel. They worked in silence for a few moments, silence that was suddenly broken by the sound of an approaching sonic boom. Dorian looked at the doorway, seeing Sonic and Sally suddenly appeared. "No time," he said, making a grab for the emerald. That moment, Sally saw the danger. Thus as Dorian touched the emerald, activating the trap. Sniffly dived and shoved him out of the way. Dorian fell to the side, trying to pull Sniffly with him, but it was too late. The glass tube snapped down, trapping Sniffly. Split second later, the roboticizer hummed to life, filling the room with a purple light. Before anyone could move or react, Snively had been fully roboticized. The glass tube reacted, and the emerald fell to the floor beside Snively's feet. I believe this is mine, a harsh voice said. Robotnik emerged from a side room and picked up the emerald with ease. As soon as Robotnik retrieved the emerald, Knuckles appeared in a flash of light. All 7 emeralds have been claimed, he said. All rules have been repeated. You are free to do whatever you must to gain all 7. Exactly what I wanted to hear, Robotnik said, pulling out a laser rifle and aiming right for Sonic's head. But almost before the laser left the rifle, Sonic and Sally were enveloped in another flash of light and teleported back to Knothole. Robotnik whipped the rifle around to draw a bead on Dorian, but he was already at the door. It's no matter, Robotnik said, looking over the robot in front of him. You, stay here until I find a place for you. He watched from the room through the same door he had entered, noting perversely that Knuckles had also vanished. When the room was quiet, Dorian crept back into the room and stood before the robot that had been his friend. I'm so sorry, he whispered, crying sadly with a sad face. The robot stood unmoving for a few moments. Then a smile broke out on his metallic face. Don't be sad, the robot said, laying his hand on Dorian's shoulder. Everything is working out just fine. Dorian raised an eyebrow. But how? Don't tell me you had another virus in the roboticizing program. Snively shook his head. I had the wind emerald on me, he said simply. Apparently, it protected me to some extent. Now you better get out of here before someone finds you. Dorian nodded and quickly left the room. Snively resumed his pose, looking like nothing but a robot on the outside. But his mind was already planning ways of getting the other emeralds from his uncle, then the Freedom Fires. Sonic and Sally were confused. One moment they were in Robotropolis, about to be fired on, but now they were underwater, just above the ring generator. Sally kicked to the surface, dragging Sonic with her. She pushed through the door and pulled himself up after him. Sally? Sandra asked, disengaging from the kiss she and Tails were sharing. What happened? We blew it, Sonic answered, pushing himself to his feet. Without another word, he walked off, dripping wet, heading for his hut. Tails started to go after Sonic, but Sally stopped him. He's going to need some time, honey, Sally said softly. Let's leave him alone for now. Sonic walked to his hut, threw himself down on the bed. To anyone passing by, it would have looked like he was asleep. But in reality, Sonic was planning for something he felt now was inevitable. That in the near future, when the fate of all Mobius would rest on his shoulders. But that was still in the future. For now, he had to deal with the fact that the race for the emeralds had truly begun. Yeah, for all of one episode, and then we get to the penultimate one.